Hi, Kirsten Lovett here at NMJ Journey, Shamanic coach, and I'm here today in the car, actually getting ready to go to the doctor. Um, just routine, but I wanted to do this podcast in the car before the doctor because I obviously will feel better after I go see the doctor. And I thought if I have kind of my physical symptoms on my mind right now, it'll help me put what I wanted to talk to you today about, which is Mapacho. And Mapacho is a spirit. And also, when I talk about tobacco, you might have remembered me talking last year about sacred tobacco spirit. And so the one of the hard things to put across verbally, because it's just so many of these things you feel kind of internally, but especially when it comes to spirits. But tobacco, because we always think of tobacco as being the substance, um, when I talk about it, I try to talk about it in ways that are multi-dimensional. So, like, there's the tobacco that you can see in your hands, that's actual physical substance. And then there's the spirit, and there's even different levels of that kind of spirit. So, just for today's purposes, when I'm talking about mapacho, which is a version of tobacco, there's like a ton of different kinds of tobacco. But mapacho is a very special jungle, what they call maestro teaching plant. A lot of tobacco spirits are teaching plants, but mapacho in particular, Nicotiana rustica, if you're interested in the Latin, is a teaching plant, among many other things that it does. But so so the reason I want to talk about mapacho is, and I should say, um, I like to call him Abuelo. Uh, if you want to know what it is in English, that's like grandfather, sacred grandfather, Abuelo Mapacho spirit. And the reason you're seeing a little smile on my face is because he's kind of like a trusted ally, confidant, healer, guide, um, somebody who kind of looks caretaker, messenger, doctor, uh, teacher. And the reason why I'm thinking about him, it's a little bit easier for me to get in contact with these spirits because I'm out, in a parking lot that has some beautiful, beautiful trees. You can probably see some of them through the window here, and it's a very lovely oak setting. So that's why it's a little easy for me to. It's nice to be able to get outside, um, and talk about this sort of thing in the elements because it's a little bit more visceral, I hope, on camera. So yes, mapacho. So let me tell you the practical part of it. This is like real nuts and bolts practical part. Little background on me. I have chronic health issues, as many people do. And one of my health issues has to do with pain. So I have, you know, most of the time I can manage through it, but every once in a while, like I did recently, I had, and I'm having right now, more pronounced pain in a certain area of my body, my limbs. And so, what was interesting, and of course, I'm not saying one replaces the other. Obviously, medical care is essential. Going to see uh, a doctor is very important. And of course, usually takes care of everything. But this is like on top of that, because sometimes it's good to have a backup support system. So what I mean by this is because I've been making so many offerings to Mapacho as a spirit and for so many years, and I can talk to you more about that in, another episode. But when I say offerings, I mean like, and some of you already know what I'm talking about, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's like if you offer something to a spirit or a deity, or and some people might be familiar with, like in the church, um, people will light candles to a saint or something like that. That's kind of like, I think that's offering. So like you can have outside of the church, in a more animistic setting, although sometimes Christianity has animism too. Uh, but you can have a spirit relationship where you give offerings to a particular, spirit or deity or whatever. So in this case, we're talking about Mapacho. And as usual, the allergies are pretty bad. So for example, I make an offering to Mapacho, uh, almost daily. And that's been over many, many, many years. And I think why that's important to tell you about is because the relationship with a plant spirit or any spirit takes time, but it also takes kind of like repetition, just like you would. And I mean that in a fun way. I don't mean like repetition, like, droning, but I mean like in a fun way, like contact, like you would with a friend. If you're going to keep up a relationship with a friend, it's probably good to talk to them however often you want to talk to them. If it's somebody you talk to once a year, that friendship's there, but it's maybe not as close as somebody you talk to once a month, right? So, same thing with plant spirits. So, and any spirit. So, I was making these offerings to the Mapacho. And in addition to this, and I'd like to give props and thanks to my sister, Marissa Lovett, who's also taken a class in how to deal with sacred tobacco in several different areas. But in this one area, it's kind of like a curanderismo practice. So she was able to put some topical mapacho on my knee. Now, what was interesting about that is, sure, I could have just asked her and not had the relationship with the plant spirit, and she would have applied the tobacco to my knee, and sure, it would have felt better. Okay. But when you add in the fact that I was making offerings to the plant spirit, that allows that support system. And what do I mean by that? How does that work? Well, sometimes when I'm out making offerings outside, um, and I pray to him, I will hear something back from him. Maybe he'll give me some advice. Maybe he'll suggest something to me that will help me feel better. And I know that when I'm hurting, in addition to the topical mapacho, which, if you want to just believe that spirits don't really help and prayer doesn't work and whatever, okay, fine, that's cool. Sure, the topical, application of something physical on my body. Yeah, we know the curative properties, and you can look them up and Google them. But I think it's more than that. And I just wanted to let you know that what's possible just on the physical level, like if you just have a physical pain problem, then maybe is okay, if you're, managing it in other ways. But, you run into kind of like a snafu or something where you need a little extra help. This is where any kind of spirit, plant spirit, animal spirit, your deities, if you're into the Christian church and you're into saints, that's where you would call on your saints or your archangels or whatever. Now, I don't know as much about the ins and outs of dealing with archangels and saints, although actually I probably know a little bit more about saints because saints relate to Euro animism, in terms of animistic practices. And that's actually another topic, but uh, so I don't want to get too off topic. But I wanted to tell you that because I've been practicing with sacred tobacco, I feel like I can tell you that down the road, if you initiate some kind of offering practice with either a plant spirit or an animal spirit, any of these things, and you do it regularly, some of the benefits include even being able to have guidance and healing about physical pain. And that's really been a wonderful thing for me to, be able to experience because I don't know about you, but sometimes when you're going through emotional pain or spiritual pain or physical pain, sometimes it can be really comforting to know that there's something available to you that's allows you to be sovereign in your own body and to have your own. And sure, it helps to have other people involved in that, of course. We always want to seek out help that's trusted, but I think when you add those two together, you know why not have more of a support system? And support can come in different forms, like when I was, because I'm still in a fair amount of pain, but I mean, it's been really nice to be able to call him Mapacho and say, I really need your help, Mapacho. You know, please help me with this. And he knows because I've been dealing with him for a while, he knows I mean business, and he knows that I'll try to honor him as much as I possibly can. And I think and I'm trying to speak more from the heart about these relationships because they've been and they continue to be so important to me. In fact, I think they've become even more important than they were. They're always important, maybe in times of crisis. And we always remember that. And I always will, because I've had so many times where sacred tobacco and other plant spirits and apus from my sacred medicine bundle and and that are still continually important. And sometimes those people all together. I say people, they're really spirits, but you know what I mean? I consider them like people. They're people, you know, because they're helping you. So I was just wanting to talk about this a little bit today, um, before I go in. And, I think because tobacco, the grander family of tobacco, has been colonized for the last 500 plus years, we only know it at the media. Well, not the media, but the public really only understands the very toxic side of tobacco. And it's becoming more common for people to understand the spirit of tobacco and the spirit of plants. But I think what still happens, whether it's with ayahuasca or mapacho, or you hear people talk about like pape and rape, um, I'm not familiar with those as much. And to be honest, I haven't smoked mapacho in 13 years. I don't need to. I mean, I'm sure if the occasion arises, I'll do it. Uh, it's a very respectful thing. It's not something you do to get high. Um, but I don't have to. And it's not because I'm special, like I have superpowers. It's because I've kept up a relationship. And that, in my opinion, if there's something I'm going to harp about that I want to get across to everybody, is that if you keep up a relationship, and sure, there's plenty of times when I don't do as good a job as I could. It's hard to keep up with everything all the time, right? But if you keep it up as much as you can, that's that's huge. What do people say when someone has passed on to the other side, a person? They say, as long as you remember me, you'll keep my memory alive. Well, let's apply that to spirits. If you remember the spirits, you keep their memory alive. And actually, you do more than that. It's not just the memory, but you keep the circuitry the cycle, because I think we're supposed to be in communion with a spirit relationship. And when I say that, it sounds like I'm talking about, you know, Abrahamic religions, and I'm not. I'm talking about, it could include that, but it could include something even broader, including plant spirits and animal spirits and stone spirits and things like this. Um, if you're into, Wicca, you'll be familiar with that. Or if you're into, curanderismo, or, there's so many different ways. There's in a future podcast, I'd like to talk about trance states because, and by the way, one of the nice things also about dealing with sacred plant medicine is you don't always have to ingest it. I know there's a lot of people who, yeah, it helps if you are with a trusted professional and if you can ingest it with somebody who is, clinically or has some kind of clinical background, or is really experienced in it, like they're from, a tradition that understands that. Of course, yes. But just to give you a framework of where I'm coming from, myself and my sister have a Patreon, and what we do there at Shamanic Earth Medicine, one of the things we do there is we teach people how to, and we actually go through the cycle with them. We demonstrate and we perform together. We do ceremony and we do energy work and we do ritual work and we do all of this together. And like, for example, the next thing we have, or at least the next thing I have coming up, is March 25th, is a shamanic journey to the Mapacho spirit. Well, so that's a good example of, like, we're not actually ingesting Mapacho or smoking it or any of that stuff, right? We're going to go into a light trance state with the use of the rattle or some kind of noisemaker. And we're going to journey to meet the Mapacho spirit. And, if there's some people who are more experienced with that sort of thing, they might have, some questions or uh, guidance or healing that they'd like to receive from the Mapacho spirit, because he's a great healer too, as well as a great teacher. But in the Latin American countries, and that's where the people that I've studied with have trained there, they consider him a maestro, teacher, grand teacher, So, and that can mean a lot of things, right? Sometimes teachers are also great healers too. And so I wanted to mention that next event to you because this is something we do regularly. We do different kinds of journeys so that they happen virtually over usually over Zoom or some kind of, internet capability, and or live streaming, etc. And so if you'd like to join us in that process, you can join up at www.patreon.com/shamanic earth medicine. It's $5 a month for that particular tier. And that's where you get a monthly ceremony. Every month is a different ceremony every month between me and my sister. So, and it's on a variety of topics. We're also into Nordic and European animism as well. Plant spirits, animal spirits. Obviously, I talk about tobacco. I also occasionally will get into weather work, and because that relates to tobacco as well. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for today. And I look forward to the next time we can talk. Also, if you ever want to leave me a question, you can always leave me a question at the Spotify page, the Now Moment Journey. I'll leave a link in the description. Also, I'm posting this on YouTube so that you can watch it on YouTube. And I encourage you to, check out the other free YouTubes. I've got several other podcast episodes on YouTube. I'm going through and I'm trying to convert some of the audio over to video, but I've got several already up there. And I've got a number of other trainings with shamanic journeying in them for free that you can watch right now. So they're with like the deer spirit. There's a shamanic journey to the deer spirit. There's one with the bear spirit. And I know those two are up there for sure. So, okay. Well, I hope you're having a good Thursday. And by the way, one of the things I like to talk about is in Nordic animism is the different deities. Today is Thor. Today is Thursday, which is Thor's day. And relating to weather, he likes lightning and he likes oak trees. And I just happen to be near some oak trees here, so maybe he's happy that I'm mentioning his name. So, yeah, okay. Well, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, please submit me a question if you'd like me to talk about something related to things that you've heard me talk about before, or something you think is in the realm of animal, plant, stone spirits, shamanic journeying, offerings, rune. I'll be getting into runes a little bit in terms of like ritual relationships, things like that. So yeah, take care and looking forward to seeing you again.